Welcome to part 25, the absolute capstone of our Wealth Masterclass Explainer. Okay, we are diving right in today. Over the past 24 chapters, we've dismantled the old rules, you've built the cash flow engines, you've automated everything to infinite capacity, and you've locked it all down in unhackable multi-jurisdictional fortresses. You've done the hard work, but now we arrive at the absolute peak of enterprise design, the sovereign exit strategy. Today, we're shifting gears entirely. We're moving from simply running a cash-generating machine to executing a high-ticket exit. Because listen, true wealth isn't just about generating monthly revenue. It's about monetizing years, decades even, of future earnings in one single massive transaction. So I have to ask you, do you own a sellable asset? Or just a really high-paying job? This right here is the ultimate mistake that middle-tier entrepreneurs make. They build a business with absolutely zero exit horizon. They trap themselves. They end up acting as the perpetual, exhausting engine of their own company, just grinding away until they literally hit a wall of burnout or the market shifts and wipes out their value. Look, if stepping away from the daily operations causes your revenue to stall or your clients to suddenly jump ship, you haven't actually built a sellable asset. You've just given yourself a very demanding, high-paying job. To make sure we totally avoid that trap, we're going to break down the exact blueprint to engineer and execute a high-ticket exit. We'll be looking at 3 structural pillars today. Number 1, total operational decoupling. Number 2, the proprietary infrastructure premium. And number 3, tax-optimized liquidity. These 3 pillars are literally your roadmap for converting cash flow into a massive liquid windfall. All right, starting with pillar number 1, total operational decoupling, which basically means completely removing the founder from the equation. So, when you're gearing up to sell, you really have to understand who is actually buying. We're talking about institutional, private equity firms, massive family offices, large corporate acquirers, and guess what? They do not care about your personal charisma. A founder-dependent business, one that relies on your daily sweat and completely stalls out without you, is effectively unsellable to these guys. What they want, what they're hungry for, is an exit-ready asset. That means an enterprise running on automated code, flawlessly documented systems, and a totally independent management layer. An acquirer needs to step into the owner's seat on day one with absolute 100% confidence that the money printer is going to keep going completely without you. If you've built that, you are sitting on an absolute gold mine. And when you successfully pull off that operational decoupling, the reward is massive. We are talking a valuation of 6 to 12 times your annual earnings. That's the top-tier multiple you command when you prove the business doesn't actually need you. Think about that for a second. Just by removing yourself as the bottleneck, by totally systematizing your operations, you aren't just making your day-to-day life easier. You are literally multiplying the lifetime value of your entire empire by up to a factor of 12 in one single exit event. It's a total game changer. Which brings us right to our second pillar, the proprietary infrastructure premium, or in other words, building your technological moat. Now, in today's digital economy, sophisticated buyers want way more than just a history of good profits. They want an undeniable edge. This is what we call a proprietary premium. Basically, these are strategic technological assets and infrastructure that give an acquirer a completely unfair market advantage. When a private equity firm looks at your business, they're constantly asking themselves, what does this company have that would be an absolute nightmare for us to build on our own? When your client onboarding, your retention, your fulfillment pipelines are all powered by proprietary tech, they aren't just buying your cash flow. They're buying a technological moat, a moat that would otherwise cost them millions of dollars and years of development to build from scratch. You're saving them all that time and risk, and trust me, they will pay a huge premium for it. So what exactly do these high-value assets look like in the real world? Well, they're things like proprietary datasets that literally nobody else has, exclusive software integrations that lock down your competitive advantage, automated distribution channels guaranteeing your reach, rock-solid recurring subscription contracts for guaranteed future revenue, and of course, custom AI workflows that just absolutely maximize efficiency. By baking these elements into your company, your valuation goes through the roof. You're no longer just a standard, easily copied service business. You are now a highly defensible, high-margin, scalable digital infrastructure asset. That one shift in perception, that's what turns a decent exit into a legendary one. All right, finally, we arrive at our third structural pillar, tax-optimized liquidity, which is all about protecting that massive windfall. Listen closely here, because executing a massive enterprise sale without prior tax structuring is a catastrophic mistake. If you're not careful, predatory taxation will step right in and devour up to half of your entire transaction value, literally half, gone. So, to build a fortress around this wealth, Elite capital allocators structure their exit way before any contract is ever drafted. They use a very precise architecture. Step 1 is using those multi-jurisdictional holding entities, international corporate structures, and dynasty trusts we've talked about before. Step 2 ensures that the proceeds from the sale flow directly into tax-exempt or tax-deferred sovereign reserves. And Step 3 is strategically moving that protected capital. Setting this up in advance guarantees that the wealth you just spent years building actually stays yours, fully optimized and totally protected from systemic overreach. And once that liquid windfall is safely locked in your sovereign reserve, it gets immediately reallocated into a diversified basket of inflation-proof hard assets. We're talking sovereign debt instruments, income-producing real estate portfolios, high-yield digital nodes, and strategic private equity placements. This is definitely not about leaving a pile of cash sitting in a bank account while inflation slowly bleeds it to death. No way. This is about deploying capital into fortified assets that provide real generational security, making sure your windfall doesn't just survive but keeps compounding entirely on its own without a single ounce of your active labor. The matrix of economic limitation is permanently shattered. Let that sink in. If you've been with us throughout this Explainer series, you now hold the complete 25-part blueprint to absolute financial sovereignty. You've gone from figuring out currency decay all the way to building, scaling, protecting, and monetizing a true global empire. But as you stand at this peak, you have to realize something crucial. Capital and systems, they're just the raw fuel. True sovereignty isn't just a big bank balance. It's an internal state of being. You've secured the capital, but more importantly, you've unlocked what we call the sovereign monument. You've achieved the mastery of infinite time. You now have total, unyielding authority over every single microsecond of your life. No more forced meetings, no more low-leverage obligations. Your calendar is a completely clean canvas. You've reached absolute inner sovereignty, governing your own mind with the exact same precision and discipline that you use to govern your financial empire. Which leaves us with one final, ultimate question. With your calendar now completely clear, what are you going to build with your absolute freedom? When survival, luxury, and generational security are permanently solved, money stops being a personal scorecard. It becomes a tool for the architecture of impact and influence. A true sovereign capital allocator uses their reserves, their tech, their global influence to fund breakthrough innovations, to build massive physical and digital infrastructure, to literally shape economies through global terraforming. You're shifting from just surviving within a system to constructing entirely new systems that liberate others and push human potential forward. The knowledge is locked in, the frameworks are tested, and the path is completely clear. Step forward into the world, deploy your systems, use your capital as an active force multiplier, command your destiny, and build your monument. Stay sovereign forever, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me on this Explainer, and I'll see you next time.